I think that when we are refugees or immigrants, when we move from one country to another, you feel almost like you've lost your past and you've lost your memories. And you wonder, was my past life actually a dream? Because you're now in an environment that is so completely different. And you can feel less, you can feel like you're not worthy. You can feel like you're not as good as other people because you don't have that societal context that's supporting you and your identity. I feel like culture is, when you're in the culture that you're born in and you're supported by that culture, it's constantly reflecting your identity back to you. And what I mean by that is, you go out, you say to somebody, "Oh, I grew up in New York in Flatbush." And they're like, "Oh, I know Flatbush. My mom lived in Flatbush." And you're like, "Yay, Flatbush." So that has been reflected back on you. That is somebody affirming that they know you and where you're from and grounding that piece of you. But when you are in a completely different place, people have no idea what Flatbush is, and they're like, "Oh, that's nice." But like what you say kind of disappears into the void, and you have to be very strong in who you are.
This is Story to Count with Jen Jumba. In conversations with writers, something magical happens, and as readers, we begin to see them as human beings and not just the name on the spine of a book. My hope is through these conversations, you learn about their craft and them as a person. You'll become like me, fiercely loyal and want to read their current book, their entire backlist, any future book, or any book they blurb. And when you see their name, you'll want to support them, not only as incredible storytellers, but also the thoughtful individuals you have come to know. And I'm super excited because my guest today is Jean Kwok. She's a New York Times and internationally best-selling author of The Leftover Woman, Searching for Sylvie Lee, Girl in Translation, and Mambo in Chinatown. Her books have been chosen by Read with Jenna as a Good Morning America Buzz Pick, CBS New York Book of the Month, Library Reads, which is really important to me, Indie Next, Goodreads Choice Awards, and discover great new writers. And most of her work is in development for film and television. Jean has been selected for numerous honors, including the American Library Association Alex Award, the Chinese American Librarians Association Best Book Award, and the Sunday Times EFG Short Story Award International Shortlist. Jean earned her bachelor's degree from Harvard University and earned her MFA from Columbia University, working as a professional ballroom dancer in between degrees. She reviews for the New York Times Book Review. She served as a judge for international thriller writers, Tucson Festival of Books, Ragdale, and San Miguel Writers Conference. Jean's work has been published in 20 countries and is taught in schools across the world. She currently lives in New York. So glad you're here.
Jen, thank you so much. That was so long. You didn't need to read all of that. I appreciate it though. And thank you for being such an incredible supporter of authors and such a wonderful reader. That's what we do it all for.
Well, I appreciate what you all do and your gift of storytelling and the way you put words together on a page that creates this phenomenal story. I also want to say congratulations and happy Pub Day, because we're here to talk about your new book, Dominion, which published today. So hot off the press. So I've read all your other books. Yeah, they're phenomenal stories. Dominion is a little bit different. Would you like to introduce us a little bit to Dominion, this amazing trilogy?
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm so excited to be here. Of course, that Dominion is actually going into the world. It's a thrilling, thrilling moment. You know me from having written kind of more literary suspense novels. And then Dominion is a romantasy. So it is kind of a departure in a lot of ways. But I always say, wherever you go, there you are, because you will see, of course, that Dominion has to do with themes that I'm always kind of obsessed by, about kind of being a fish out of water and women finding their power and so on. So Dominion is a Romantasy is an Asian mythology inspired cross between Fourth Wing and Hunger Games. And it's about a ribbon dancer who's lost her memories and she has very little magic. And she has, she gets into this problem because she wounds a deadly tiger by accident, and she gets thrown into a tiger bonding trial by a fierce warrior in which she's not expected to survive, but survive she does. And she ends up on this warrior's elite team racing to stop the demon invasion.
Yeah, it is a fascinating read. We should tell people that Dominion is essentially divided into three acts or three things that are happening. It starts with the bonding, and then it moves to the culling and then to the raveling. So the bonding, I mean, you're right. Iron Flame meets the Hunger Games. I want to say there's a little bit of Harry Potter in terms of the different houses of the different dominions. And
So,
that sense of bonding and kind of finding. So she's coming home from the bar, right? She meets one of her friends, has a drink, is on her way home, and accidentally wounds this tiger, which is like horrible and a punishable offense, and not something that you should do. And there begins the story that she's taken and she's put in prison. And then they decide, okay, well, maybe you can compete for this elite team.
right, right, right. So we can't spoil too much. We can't spoil too much. But yes, indeed, she winds up on this elite team that, so basically what's happened, like you've so said so well, Jen, is we have a world. It's separated into four different dominions. And the dominions are based on Chinese mythology. So we have the dominion of the silver tiger, which is where Ruby is now, our heroine. We have the dominion of the azure dragon, and that's where Ruby is from. And everybody from that certain dominion actually has that color hair. So if you're from the azure dominion, you've got blue hair. If you're from the silver dominion, you've got metallic colored hair. If you're from the red phoenix dominion, you've got red hair. And if you're from the onyx tortoise dominion, you've got black hair. And so, we have these divisions that are almost like races, but based on hair color instead of skin color. And people have their own prejudices against each other, and they're fearful of each other. And basically, indeed, there was an annihilation of the Azure Dragon Dominion. Their people were forced to flee, and Ruby wound up in the Silver Tiger Dominion. And what's fun is, like you said, it is very much like Harry Potter and the different houses. I even have a quiz on my website,
Yes.
jeankwok.com, that is to find out which dominion you belong to personality wise. And, because each dominion has like their own kind of personality traits
Right.
and their own magic and their own culture.
It was fascinating. I took copious notes that during this, because one of the things that you did with this that I want people to recognize is the incredible world building. Y- It is set in a completely different atmosphere. You just described Ruby, who's the main character, whose dominion was basically annihilated. They're refugees. One might even say immigrants, right? So common themes to things that we're seeing in today's world of, welcoming people who have suffered greatly, and at the same time, the tension that exists between those that we don't know. There are those who might be different than us. So fascinating in terms of like trying to take notes. I mean, I learned all kinds of things about glyphs and about the different things that happen. I learned about Thunder Vein. You said each dominion has their own characteristics. They also have their own weapons. How did you go about creating and deciding what characteristics would go with each particular dominion? How do you start building a world like that?
I think that's such a great question. I mean, and I really started with Chinese and Asian mythology. So, for example, I looked at the Celestial Guardian. The original Celestial Guardian is the white tiger. And the element of the white tiger is metal. So I thought, all right, then if we're going to have a silver tiger dominion, then metal has to be what their magic controls. And then I looked at the characteristics of the tiger and of the celestial guardian, the original one, the tiger, and where he came from and what the mythology was. And I thought, well, it is, what would these people be like? And I thought, well, I realized they would be a people of might makes right, of
Yes.
powerful metal mages, and then also of like there are these giant telepathic rideable tigers that are as big as horses, which is actually a really terrifying idea in this dominion that are considered sacred. And if you wound one, if you even scratch one, that's punishable by death. So this is a dominion of kind of really big, massive people who are strongly built and who are kind of believe in battle and in a certain kind of simplicity as well. And Ruby comes from a totally different place. She comes from the Azure Dragon Dominion. The Azure Dragon is a place where the original Azure Dragon is a creature of like wood and harmony and changeability and, wood as the element of growth and life. And so I thought, who would they be? I thought, well, they're shapeshifters, of course. Like
Yeah.
they would be shapeshifters and nature and growth magic, and people of the land that bring forth crops. So that's who Ruby is, but not everyone has the same amount of magic, of course. So
Right.
Ruby is sadly not so powerful, and she is feeling very lost and weak in this dominion. She's a ribbon dancer, so she's a dancer, and she's kind of fascinating in a strange way when she dances, but that's not anything that anybody can really quantify. And of course, she meets Blake, who is the tiger warrior, and he is the head of the tiger warriors, and he's killed a lot of people, and he has incredible telepathic metal magic, and he's used it, for the cruel king, which makes Ruby hate him very much. And he hates Azures too, because his family died during that annihilation when they were there, and he suspects them of having caused the whole thing. So yeah, that's just two of the dominions, but I definitely started from Chinese mythology. And then you mentioned the glyphs, which is something I think is really fun in my book. And that's almost like a spell that you can put into an item and can be activated by pushing something. So you can have a mirror that is, a beauty glyph, and, you look in the mirror and it kind of fixes your makeup. You can have, that with hair, you can have that on weapons. And it's a way for non-magical people to use magic. And the basis for a lot of the magic is again, in Chinese mythology, we have a lot of things with words where there were these almost like talismans where we believe you could write down a word with power and slam it on a mountain and it would hold a demon. And that was where I started thinking about glyphs from, where I thought, okay, how can I kind of put magic into objects that could
Right.
then be used by other people?
Yeah, I think Dominion, besides it being a fantastic story and a fabulous telling, the touch points of Chinese mythology, I just think it's going to open a lot of doors for people that anytime you read something, you become curious and you want to know more about it. And so I know that I will be going and looking to learn more about this amazing, history and mythology, even including the zodiac birthdays, that the zodiac is a 12 year. So on their first zodiac birthday, so when they're 12 years old, there's supposed to be some hint or appearance of what their magical gifts might be. And then by the time they're 24, so on their second zodiac birthday, those are supposed to really have matured during those 12 years and come to fruition so people can kind of step into. And the challenge is Ruby has no memories and doesn't quite know what her gifts are. And I just think trying to navigate a world in general without memories is tough.
Right, right, right. And what you said about the zodiac is like it's so great because I thought I didn't want this to be a textbook. I wanted to like
No.
take Asian mythology as the basis and then to take a leap from it. The way Percy Jackson uses
Yes.
Greek mythology and kind of takes off from it. I wanted to do that. And indeed, we all know the Chinese zodiac years. So are you the year of the goat? Are you the year of the dragon? Oh, this is now the year of the horse. So, for us, of course, it has a lot more meaning than just kind of a funny anecdote. And we've always believed that people from a certain year have certain characteristics. And because, like you said, it's a 12-year cycle. So the animals repeat after 12 years. My mother always, would call people by the years. She would be like, "Oh, how old is he?" She'd be like, "He's a monkey." And that meant he was born in the year of the monkey. And you'd have to calculate. Okay. So that was that many cycles of 12 ago plus 3 years. So that means he's 15 or whatever. And so, that was a very important thing, but also that when the year comes around, so let's say you were born in the year of the dragon and it's the year of the dragon again, that is considered a magical year. That's considered an important year because you've come full cycle. So in Dominion, indeed, people who have magic, when they hit the first zodiac year, when they're 12 years old, so let's say their year of the dragon and it's year of the dragon again, they get the first hint of their powers. But then when they hit 24, their second zodiac, that's when they get the full load. So very powerful magic users you'll get a hint at your first zodiac that
Right.
something big is coming, but it really lands on your second zodiac. So that's a very interesting and powerful moment for magic users to see what their powers do at that time.
Right. And it also helps that they know what those powers are at the age of 24 versus 12. Because if you're 12 years old and you know the strength and the gifts that you have with magic, not sure 12-year-olds always make the best decisions. Not sure 24-year-olds always do too. However, there's that 12 years to kind of learn to appreciate it and understand it, perhaps. But you have Ruby who has no memory. So how does she know how to trust anything? And she's coming up on her 24th birthday or second
Right.
zodiac birthday. So
She has it in the book, her second zodiac. That's right.
yeah. And that sense of unease, right? And not being able to trust herself because she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know her past. She doesn't know what was important to her. And she knows to dance, right? I think at one point she says in the book that dancing released some of the grief, bled it out. She used that as a tool to kind of process the fact that she doesn't have memories and she lost her family. What does she do now?
Absolutely. And I think like Ruby is kind of the ultimate version of the immigrant. I
Hmm.
think that when we are refugees or immigrants, when we move from one country to another, you feel almost like you've lost your past and you've lost your
Right,
memories. And you wonder, was my past life actually a dream? Because you're now in an environment that is so completely different. And you can feel less, you can feel like you're not worthy. You can feel like you're
right.
not as good as other people because you don't have that societal context that's supporting you and your identity. I feel like culture is, when you're in the culture that you're born in and you're supported by that culture, it's constantly reflecting your identity back to you. And what I mean by that is, you go out, you say to somebody, "Oh, I grew up in New York in Flatbush." And they're like, "Oh, I know Flatbush. My mom lived in Flatbush." And you're like, "Yay, Flatbush." So that has been reflected back on you. That is somebody affirming that they know you and where you're from and grounding that piece
Yes.
of you. But when you are in a completely different place, people have no idea what Flatbush is, and they're like, "Oh, that's nice." But like what you say kind of disappears into the void, and you have to be very strong in who you are. And so that was something that, I do love amnesia stories, but I also just loved doing that with Ruby, that because I felt like that made her kind of the ultimate refugee in that she really had lost track of who she was and what she was before she arrived at this completely new and different place.
Yeah, she has no touch points. Whereas those are just reinforced, as you said, reflecting back to you. Although she does have one, Edith is one of my favorite characters. And the bond that she has with Edith, I love the bond she has with Quinn. And then Kala's relatively new, but they make a great team. But Edith seems to function a little bit as that touch point, a little bit as that sense of self. She tells Ruby several times, I love you, and not just for what you can do, but who you are, to try to give her that sense of empowerment, that sense of agency.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the found family in
Yes.
the book. because I think we don't all get to choose the families we're born in. Some people have better ones than others for them where they feel like they're a better fit. But found family is something that we all can do as we go through life. And it's so nice when you do find your people, and you find people who care about you and that you feel like kind of get you and support you and love you.
Yeah, without a doubt, Ruby is also a fun character. And I know she doesn't have her memories and she's trying to compete to be part of this elite team, but her sense of humor is so fun and it's woven throughout the book. At one point she's asked to so and so the king wants to see her and like she's like, "Well, shoot, what do I wear?" And at one point she says, "My design team consisted of an 18-year-old with no filter and a spindly undefeated boy." I just think it's that little bit of snark with truth, that little bit of biting humor, which is quite fun to see her throughout the book. So even though she feels this tremendous sense of loss of her family and where she's from, she still has a sense of humor about things and the situations she finds herself in.
Definitely, definitely. And like, I mean, what you touched on is, of course, the key to the story of the book, which is that we have four dominions. They each have an anchor. And those
Mhm.
anchors are holding back the demon realm and they are starting to fail. And so the Azure Dragon anchor has already fallen and the other ones are weakened and falling as we speak. And so the gods have decided each dominion must put forward 5 of their best warriors. They choose their 5 best warriors to join together and reseal all of the anchors. Ruby bizarrely winds up on the 5-person team for the Silver Tiger Dominion. And you can imagine that she's like, my God, how am I going to survive this? Because she's not a great warrior. She's not a great mage. She's a ribbon dancer. She's kind of pretty bad with weapons. She's got balance and skill, but it is a long road for her to learn to fight. And Blake, her love interest and the man responsible for trying to make her shape up is like so over it. He's so like,
That's exactly
you
right.
are going to get yourself killed. You're going to get all of us killed. But he's like, get taller. She's like, I'm going to work on the taller thing. He's like, if you were bigger and stronger, you'd have a chance. She's like, yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the banter between Ruby and Blake is so much fun. You know, they're both annoyed with each other. They're both testing one another. They both know which buttons to push on each other, which is quite fun. You talked a little bit about something earlier about 4 dominions, having to come together to pick 5 of the best. And we talked a little bit before about they all have different strengths, different characteristics, and they don't like each other. So there's this whole part of life. Like we sometimes have to work in teams with people that see things very differently than us and try to remember that we have one common goal. And so the tension that exists between them, you capture it so well on the page that it's so
There's,
tense. You see them walking into places and they like just capturing the look of disgust and the rolling of the eyes and the sighs out loud of like, "Oh my God, really? Can you be any worse at that?"
right, right.
Yeah,
And it was really so fun to write because like you said, each dominion is so different and what one dominion is proud of, like the silvers are proud that they're so strong and, kind of like, mighty. And the other dominions call them iron necks because they're like, oh, they're so dumb and like not flexible and
right.
inflexible. But on the other hand, the silvers are like, yeah, well, you azures, you can't be trusted because you're constantly shifting and unpredictable. Well, the azures are unpredictable and free and nature loving, and that's their strength. And then you've got the reds, which is a matriarchal society, which I love. It's run by women,
Yes.
female fire sirens, and they're fire. And then you've got the onyx tortoise, and they're water. So that's going to be great. And onyxes are, of course, extremely repressive of yins, which are basically women. So we've got yins and yangs in my world. And, they're extremely repressive of women. So they get along just great with the matriarchal fire sirens, literally fire and water when you put them together.
I mean, you capture a scene in the book where the Onyx are walking in and the women are literally shackled in chains to be led. And I was like, oh, not good. And then them able to see, the Reds and the Sirens and that sense of agency and empowerment of women is a good thing. Hopefully, things might change or might be different for them. But it is remarkable. You have combined Chinese mythology. You have combined like the four elements, which is fantastic. And then you have them all kind of tense against each other. And it's hard when people are so different and approach problem solving so different. And I think that is something that you capture really well in the book is them trying to figure out how to do it. And everybody assumes their way is the best way. Not
No,
always.
absolutely. No, that's right. And like how easy it is to be prejudiced against each other, especially when you don't have a lot of knowledge, when you haven't had a lot of contact. And all you've heard is you've heard about these shapeshifters and you've heard about these fire wielders
Right.
that are, so violent and who think they're better than everybody else. And you've heard about, these like onyxes who also are fiercely independent and live in a very, very difficult climate far up north. And, those were just really interesting things to play with. I have to say, I did not realize when I was world building for this that I was actually building four worlds because the four dominions are so different. And that was really like a challenge because they each have their own, magic, own rules, own everything. But what's fun is this is a trilogy. It's the Iron and Silk trilogy, Silk and Iron
Mhm.
trilogy. So it means that we spend a lot of book one in the Silver Tiger Dominion, but we'll get to see the other dominions in the other two books.
Can't wait. How do you keep track of everything? I mean, are you somebody that has like this spreadsheet of each, dominion? Because not only that, but there's also three worlds, right? There's the nether worlds. There's where's my cheat sheet to
There's the
keep track?
mortal realm. Yeah. In fact,
Yes.
it's on the map. So for people who get the actual book of Dominion, on the inside, this hand map, which like is useful to see where the Dominions are. But then he made this beautiful Virginia Align, who like is an incredible map maker.
Oh
She made
my god,
this.
that's fantastic because I have an arc, so mine didn't have that just yet.
You don't have the
So
final copy. So
so that's why I was creating my own cheat sheet.
Earth Kingdom, the Netherworld Kingdom, and the different realms, which each kingdom
Yes.
is divided into two realms. But you are such an amazing reader, Jen, that you took notes and figured that out without any aid, without any visual aids.
No, well, I had to kind of make it all make sense because I wanted to just embrace the whole book and embrace everything and all the story. And it makes so much more sense when people can look at the map and understand how things are coming together or how things are fractured or how things are tense between. Because you do a great job with some backstories as well to these characters. Blake has a great backstory in terms of how he ended up where he is. Ire, not a fan. I don't know what that's like as a writer if readers tell you that they don't care for a character. Are you
You're meant
happy?
to hate them. I mean,
Yes. Okay.
he's not my hero either. I mean, you love all your villains, of course,
Yes.
because they're fun to write and they are important for the book. But oh my gosh, yes, I'm with you. No, I am not a fan as well.
No. Mm-mm. And so talking about the themes that come up in the work in terms of understanding the dominions and understanding the painting with a broad brush personalities and characteristics of each in each dominion, and then the risks that they're willing to take, and how some are willing to take bigger risks just based on their dominion characteristics is fascinating. Yeah.
I'm
So
so
I'm
glad.
thinking, do you have post-its? Do you have like gigantic poster boards,
I
spreadsheet?
have
How do you keep track of it all?
millions. I have a million files. But I do have one main story Bible where I
Okay.
put I have two main documents. I have one that is about the characteristics of the world, and I have one that's based on the characters. So I have one where I'll have all the rules of the different worlds and, the geography and the names of the seas and things like that, just to keep all of that straight. And then I have one for the characters where I just remember what their powers are, what their weapons are, what they look like. I mean, this could be like kind of an amazing video game, you know, where what are they
Absolutely.
about to do? What have they done? What elements do they manipulate? So, and exactly who does what, because they all have slightly different, slightly different types of fire magic, for example, or types of metal magic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing that is so unique. I mean, the Thunder Vein, which is ridiculously cool, and then you have Ruby and her ribbons and the fire and some of the things that they're able to do. So to me, it is such a gift to be able to read and explore these worlds. And I went to your website and I almost took the test to figure out which Dominion I would fit in. I haven't done that yet because I wanted to wait till we talked.
Curious.
I know. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think what I might be.
What do you think you would be?
Definitely not Onyx.
Uh-huh.
There's part of me that thinks maybe Azure Dragon,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but who knows?
Independent, free spirits are Azures. Art loving, passionate, kind of compassionate types are reds. And silvers are kind of bold, courageous, meet the challenge head on types. And onyxes are enemy slave types. So
Yeah.
they're kind of Slytherin. They're really the Slytherin of my book.
Yeah.
And I love onyxes. I mean, we've got great onyxes too. I met somebody who took it and was like, okay, I just took the quiz and I came out like almost 100% onyx. And now I'm really scared of myself. So,
Right. I think that's the thing. I was like, I don't think I'm repressed. And then I was like, whoa, this is yeah. So I'm gonna check. Do you know which
so
one
I'm
you
a
were?
red. I'm a red. Yes. I
Okay.
came
Makes
out
sense.
strongly red. So yes, who knows? But yes.
I'll
Although
follow up with you.
I
I'll
love
let you
it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
other thing too, there are a couple lines that repeat throughout the book in terms of keep the balance, and light in the darkness. And those are two things that come up frequently in the book to kind of as a touch point to kind of hold on to. But I also think they're good lessons for us now. I mean, today I think they're kind of that timeless, trying to keep the balance, harmony, whatever the right word is, between all the things that we juggle in life.
It's so true. It's so true. And I thought one of the fun things about writing a romantasy is that I think our world is so divided now. People are so polarized, and there are things that are so hard to talk about without people automatically saying, I'm this side or I'm that side. It's just really hard to connect and to communicate with each other. Well, I think underneath it all, we're all the same. We all want love and safety and for our world to be a better place. It's just the how people can be very different and what they believe the right way to do that is. And what was fun about doing this is because it removes it from our world. We're in a different world. I'm kind of hoping that it can connect with people in a kind of pure way, where people can read about these people who are divided and be like, gosh, that's silly. We shouldn't be like so prejudiced against each other like that. And then maybe
Right.
think, hey, well, maybe in our world, we can also learn to see everybody else with a little bit more compassion.
You're 100% right. And I think it's going to be a fabulous book for book discussions, for book groups to be able to talk about and have those, I won't say tough conversations, but those conversations that ultimately it's a microcosm of what's happening now is within the
Yeah.
book.
Well, hopefully also fun conversations, because we could take a step away from the reality that we're in, but we're dealing with a lot of the same issues and the
Right.
same feelings, of feeling not understood and feeling like we're under siege. And how are we going to survive this? And can we afford to be Mr. Nice Guy when the world might be ending? Like it's those kind of feelings that we are all dealing with. But yeah, Dominion it was such a blast to write. It was so fun to develop all of these. And I appreciated so much that somebody actually noticed them. Because at this point, it's just come out into the world. People are
Yes.
just starting to read. So, it's really fun to talk to people who actually have read it already.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges is sometimes being able to read stuff ahead of time means I can't talk to people about it yet because they haven't read it yet. So the
Right,
fact that we're
right.
able to talk about it right now makes me so happy because I've been waiting to like we need to talk about this. We need to talk about Ruby and Blake and Edith and Quinn. I mean,
Right,
just a
and there's a big, big twist at the end that we are not going to spoil here,
no,
but that's something you can only talk to people who,
correct. I did not see it coming.
well, okay, I was gonna ask you, did you I have not yet talked to a reader who figured out who Ruby was. People have come close, they figured out pieces of her identity along the way, but I
Mhm.
have not yet found someone who actually figured out who she was, but I'm sure there will be one because people are so smart. They're such smart readers. But yes, I
Mhm.
was hoping that that was hidden well enough that it was, hard to figure out. So you didn't see it?
Mm-mm. No,
Mhm.
there was one thing that I thought, but it wasn't quite what happened.
Right.
But you feel I mean, Ruby's a character that you root for. I mean, she's not perfect. I mean, that she's complex, she's a little bit flawed like we all are as human beings, and yet you want her to succeed and you want her to, I don't know. And romantasy is this great hot trend right now, which makes me so happy because people are reading,
Right.
which as a
Right.
librarian always makes me happy. But yeah, I mean, there's sometimes where I think, yeah, do we have to do genres? But I think it's great because this is one of the fastest growing genres out there right now. I mean, people love the story, the quintessential, good versus bad type of story. But yours is done in such a thoughtful way and such a, I want to say, educational way. Like, man, if you were to have written some of the textbooks I had, and stuff I had to learn growing up in college, absolutely. But that theme of balance, the theme of light in the darkness, because we've all found ourselves, right, in these difficult times and trying to find that hope, that light to keep us going.
Well, that's kind of the fundamental tenet of Chinese mythology and philosophy is the yin yang symbol, right? That we
Right.
need, there's no light without dark, and there's no dark without light, but there's also light within the dark, and there's dark within the light. And that's what makes our world so beautiful and so complex. But I mean, it's hard. Like sometimes we all go through really hard times. And I was inspired to write this because I got a divorce and my whole life just kind of blew up suddenly without, a lot of like, I had not, I'd always thought, okay, no, no, no. This is what I was meant to do. And these are the
Mhm.
people I'm going to be with forever. And then that turned out not to be true. And divorce is I mean, it's so huge because it's like your financial life, your social life. I was living abroad in the Netherlands, my family, my kids are there, so just to kind of have to redo that. And it made me really kind of think about, oh, how do I find hope again? How do I not become incredibly embittered by this
Right.
experience? And I've always read fantasy. I've always read romance and romantic fantasy. And I've always turned to those kind of stories for joy and hope. And I thought, this would be a great time to write one. Like, I would love to do that, to write a book where readers can lose themselves for a couple of hours and then come out feeling hopeful and feeling like, there is a way toward my own happy ending. I can be courageous and that people are courageous because I think they really are. I truly believe in that.
Yeah, once you kinda go through that, like, miasma of just, for lack of a better word, suck, to know deep down and it's not easy because things aren't it's the perfect yin and yang. I mean, it's so well done and so well curated and so thoughtfully told. I can't wait for people to pick it up, escape into it, enjoy themselves, enjoy the story of Ruby and these dominions, and I wanna highlight a couple pieces of language. Early on in the prologue, you said, "I could feel her smile into my hair." And I think how many times we've experienced that, our moms or aunts or favorite grown-ups sitting behind us, reading to us or whatever, and you it's tactile, and I've never heard anybody capture it on the page, and I thought, what a beautiful, heartwarming image. And then the other thing is Ruby talks about something in me settled then, a weight I didn't realize I had been carrying. Just beautiful language. So you're this epic story in terms of Chinese mythology, battle of good versus bad, beautifully written. So your literary roots of what you did before, so apparent in this book in terms of describing things and the dominions and the kingdoms and the characters. So stories end, final 5 questions. We talked a little bit earlier about the glyphs, and Ruby's given one a warming glyph because it's so cold. What would you wish for? What kind of glyph?
Oh gosh, that's a really good one. Huh. I could deal with like a temperature glyph. Like I would love to have a temperature glyph. One that like would make cool you down when you were hot and like warm you up when you were cold. Kind of like the one Ruby has, but one that works like both ways. I think
Both
that would be
ways.
thing to have. You could go outside and because I'm always too cold or too hot, I'm always wearing the wrong clothing. So I'm like the person in the winter jacket when it's 90 degrees outside. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize. Oh, what happened? How did everybody else know like that? I'm left in my ski jacket, like a sleeping
Yeah.
bag wrapped around me. So I would
Yeah.
love to have that.
Okay. So in the book is referenced a red thread as a charm for luck. Do you have a good luck charm? And do you use it when you're currently writing?
Oh, yeah, I do. And the red thread is something that really is in Chinese culture and mythology. And we believe that two lovers that were meant for each other are bound together by the red thread of fate and that you will always find each other back. So I am given jewelry all bound with red thread by my family that I have. And I keep a lot of little things like that by my writing desk. I like to have crystals and I have some good luck pieces of jewelry and, things like that that I definitely mean a lot to me.
Yeah. Next question. What chore do you hate doing?
I'm a really terrible cook, Jen, like really bad, like really, really bad. It's not that I hate it, but I am really so bad. And I have to tell you, have been trying my new thing is sweet potatoes. I really like them and I've
I
learned
do
that you
too.
can bake them. So I am been trying to bake them and really, no matter what I do, they're like so black when they come out. And,
The best
and then
part.
no, 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 like, it's black and there's black, and then
Okay.
I was trying to eat one of my own, like, the other day because 'cause I'm like, "This is fine," everyone else is like, "I'm gonna pass on that, I'm gonna go for the pasta instead," and I'm like, "No, they're fine, what are you talking about?" And I tried to eat one of my own sweet potatoes, Jen, it
Yeah.
was like eating ash. Like, I have to tell you, I was like, literally, like, if I had scooped up a coal and stuck it in my mouth. I
Yeah.
was like, this is not a pleasurable experience.
No.
So, yeah, I'm a really, really yeah, that's
But
all I'm
it's
gonna say.
interesting. Throughout this book, food features in this book, and it makes you
'Cause I'm
hungry when you read it.
starving, because 'cause I'm like a terrible cook, like, I'm
Okay.
dream about
So we're
food.
just right into
Right, it's like
existence.
my
I get it.
fantasy. This is like food porn. Like, I'm like, "Oh my god, it'd be so great if somebody could make me food like that." It's like, "Oh, well, okay, yeah."
Yeah.
Restaurants,
Well, I
restaurant.
mean, yeah. When I was reading your book, I mean, I didn't stop for dinner. I think it was one day it was like scrambled eggs, and the other day it was cereal. Just because I
Oh
was
my
like, I
gosh,
can't be bothered to slow down because I got to
I'm
read.
so honored. I'm so happy you enjoyed it. But yes, there's really great food. And I just made the unilateral decision that every Dominion, even though they're all really different, it's
Yes.
gonna have Chinese food. So there's a lot of great Asian food in the
Fabulous. Would you rather take one long trip or several short trips?
one long trip. I like one long trip because I think every time you take a short trip, it's like you've got to pack and then like, I also pack a lot of shoes. I packed, I went away for a 3-day weekend and I packed 7 pairs of shoes. I needed every single one of them. I'm telling you
And
because
you
the
look
weather,
fabulous. Yes.
well, I have to tell you, it's also because I can't predict the weather. So I've got my ski boots and I've got my sandals. I just don't know what's going to happen.
Flip flops
But
to ski boots and some
yes,
Uggs
so
in
it's better
between.
if I can right, it's better if I can pack once and just go and I'm there. Well, if I have to pack each time, I'd have like 7 huge suitcases with me.
Yeah. And then the final question, what song is always on your road trip playlist?
I have to tell you, I am such a Taylor Swift fan. And my boyfriend is a professional jazz musician. And the first time he came over and heard me listening to Taylor Swift, he was like, "You're not listening to Art Blakey or Miles Davis?" I'm like, "No, actually, never. No. I mean, like, I love Taylor Swift. I just love
She's
her
a
with
great
every
storyteller.
piece of my heart. I think so too. I think so too. And I just like, I don't know. I think her songs are so fun and so kind of magical and relaxing. And I honestly have them on nonstop when I'm writing. So this is like my, lighter side. It's like I'm not listening to like Tchaikovsky or something. I do like classical and piano music too, but really give me
Yeah,
Taylor Swift
no,
any day.
cello. Yeah, strings, I am there all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody who is listening, and a huge thank you to you, Jean Kwok, whose new book, Dominion, just published today. And if it is just the first book in this trilogy, we are going to be dazzled by the next two. I can't even. If you're looking for a story of how four dominions with a history of not trusting one another are tasked to work together to keep their respective homes safe, Dominion is the book for you. If you're looking for a strong female character who is compelled to compete as a warrior for the chance to possibly recover her memories, Dominion is the book for you. If you're looking for a book that literally sweeps you into an incredibly imaginative world and lets you escape reality for a while, Dominion is the book for you. To find out who else is joining me in conversation, go to storytocount.com. This is Story to Count with Jen Jumba.
Jen, thank you so much.